James gets a sandwich today, and Angel gets yam and pork, and James gets dessert. The short history of the long road got top of the stack, and it's a big stack today. Dracula, Living, The Unholy, California Typewriter, Skinamarink, Thrashers, and Coffee in Winter. And it's such a big stack because yesterday I started reviewing and then the rain came, so
yeah, I
didn't get much of a chance to review. So I was going to put Angel down there to eat, but I don't think I will because that's pretty wet. I don't want her to have to get cold. So she's going to eat right here if she wants to. It's right in front of you. Do you smell it?
She's going for the
She's
yam.
going for the yam. She loves pork, but I guess she loves yam too. So I didn't know which one she'd choose today, and I guess it's yam over pork. Oh, I forgot a mask. Can you grab one for me? It's just inside on the, just behind the door there. You'll see them. Yep, right there. Do you see masks there?
A black one?
Whichever one you choose. I just forgot one.
There you go.
And I know you'll want to eat, so
yeah,
I better get this on.
Quite a while.
Since James has been sick, so he
Yeah.
doesn't want to get the whole household sick.
I don't want to get another thing just in case Pauline has something like RSP.
But I brought Angel out, so I don't know.
I don't want her to
Maybe
get
Angel
this.
gets
This
sick.
has been very nasty. It's going on 2 months.
But I think James is through with the contagious part of it.
I don't want to assume anything about it. People have been assuming all sorts of crazy stuff about a certain plague that's been going around.
And I don't want Angel to get sick though. But we'll see. Anyway, the short history of the long road. So this follows a teenage girl she's traveling with her dad, and then tragedy strikes, and she has to go it alone. And so she's trying to figure out the world. And honestly, she's making some bad decisions, as teenagers do.
Every teenager does.
You gotta
just
learn,
hope that they don't make too many of them and survive.
But she ends up, I think, going in a right direction, or at least we're hoping so by the end of the movie. So yeah, this one
won an award.
No, it's well, I guess it won some awards that I've never heard of, but
European awards.
I don't know, but it was worth watching. I think anybody would like to watch it. A lot of beeping going on.
Yeah, I don't know if it's that thing coming down the back alley.
So I started talking about
Dracula. It sounds like it. It's now honking. Okay.
Yeah. I started talking about Dracula the other day. Yesterday, I guess. When it started raining. And it starts out great. It's the kind of, I guess, mini-series. It's 270 minutes long. It's the kind of mini-series that you start watching and you go, wow, this is, I've heard the story of Dracula 1,000 times, and this isn't steering away from it really, but it's adding to it in a different way that I enjoy watching. And so you're watching the beginning and you get the sense that somebody skilled with story composition, somebody who may be in the amiable quadrant of the disc theory personality profile, might have started out on this, and then because the story's great. You have Dracula at the beginning. He's ancient. He looks really, really old, and then while he's invited a lawyer over to close the deal, get him to sign papers and stuff like that, because this is back when, whatever. And so this guest comes over, and as the guest stays, then he gets older and Dracula gets younger. And he doesn't really know what's going on at first. But, I mean, then it becomes pretty obvious that Dracula has gotten younger somehow at his own expense, right? So at the guest's expense. So that's interesting. And then you have the whole idea that this is a contagion that Dracula has, and he's like he's somebody who spreads the plague, spreads the contagion around. He lives forever. The other people live forever that he spread it to, but in a different way, in a very unpleasant way, a way that you don't want. You don't want him to spread this to you, right? And so, because they don't get younger and younger. So, you have that interesting sort of thing where it's really he's creating something like zombies. You know, they're undead. They would like to be because they don't want to be left in this state that he's left them in. But there's a lot of unanswered questions at the end. At first you don't really question, you know, the room of boxes and stuff like that. You just think, okay, well there must be a reason for that. And we're not really given one that's satisfactory. Maybe it's to hide his identity because he knows, whatever. If you watch that part, you'll get what I'm saying. But somewhere along the line, you know, even with the nuns and everything like that, you're thinking, okay, this is going somewhere. And then at the end of the first, so you've put a lot of time into actually following this plot along and thinking this is going somewhere great. I am so glad I'm following this thing. And then you're not. And then you're extremely disappointed. It feels like the company who made it or whatever, which happens to be BBC, it feels like they bought the story in its early phase from somebody who actually knew how to write it. Somebody who was constructing it in a great way. And then they got some aggressive propagandists to finish it off in an awful way. It's terrible. The end of this is so not worth watching. You won't be able to stomach the fact that you watched the beginning and were so into it. It's so bad at the end. I mean, he walks up on shore into England after 123 years, and apparently he's been around for 500 and something or whatever. Okay, he was really old at the beginning, so one would imagine he hadn't eaten for a while, right? Or drank, whatever, for a while in order to get that old, to have been that old. But then, so because you know he gets younger when he drinks. So he's been underwater, trapped in a box for 123 years. He walks up on shore, he looks young. Exactly the same. Oh, what's going on there? Right? And then, I mean, you can say, well, he had a little bit of a drink, you find out later on, from somebody who just happened to be looking at his remains underwater. But that person didn't give him much of a drink because she's alive to tell the tale and all that kind of stuff. She didn't seem that sick yet, so she hasn't given much of her life away. She still looks pretty young. So why is he so young looking, walking onto shore? And it just, there's so much contradictory information given. At the beginning, the writer had been careful to keep everything, all the ducks in a row kind of thing. And then all of a sudden everything's flying apart. It's awful. Awful. I'm going to tuck Angel in my shirt. Oh, maybe she has to go to the washroom. I'll put her down first and then pick her back up. Because I don't know. She did eat a bit there. Mostly yam. You can see there's only one little piece of yam left.
I don't think she ate anything pork.
Yeah, I don't know. She just didn't feel like pork this morning, I guess. So, living. Now, James and I both love Bill Nighy. I don't know how you pronounce his name there, but we think he's great. But this really wasn't worth watching. It's about a guy who gets a playground built. And I don't think many people would care about that. And honestly, I didn't.
Huh? Okay.
Yeah.
There's another BBC then?
I don't know. Anyway.
They don't have it there.
The Unholy Sanctuary. Or Sanctuary.
Mm-hmm.
The Unholy. I don't know. Maybe that's just, maybe it has a different French name.
That would be the French.
So it's just called the Unholy.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Weird.
Yeah, they just switched the name to Sanctuary. I don't know. Well, anyway, from the producer Sam Raimi, so heard of Sam Raimi, but this wasn't worth watching.
Even I.
Yeah. So it starts out really interesting. They didn't get the best actors, but sometimes that doesn't matter. And the actors, they kind of fit the part. They're not perfect people, and that makes them seem more real. And it starts out with a guy going out to look at he's a reporter, and he's going to document a story of cattle mutilation. That turns out not to be the case, and not to be interesting enough that anybody would want to read about it or hear about it, so he doesn't want to report it. So he happens to see this old tree, and under the tree there's this like the trunk is rotten out, it has heart rot, right, and had then died, so it's long dead, it had heart rot. And so it's there's a hollow bit at the bottom, and he reaches in, and he like something catches his eye, something glints, right, and it turns out it's chain that's wrapped around this doll. It's like an old China doll. And I guess they were saying that they bury these, or they used to bury these dolls in the field, and then it would bring fertility, right? It'd bring fertility to the crop. So, and one can only imagine, this makes sense, right? You'd think, okay, well, that's quite possible that people would do that. I haven't heard of it, but it's, I mean, one can imagine people would sacrifice their child for fertility in past times, you know, to make sure that they had enough food for everyone, for all, like all the other children, or all the families in the village, or whatever. So that's totally believable, and you're like, okay, I can go along with this story, this is great. And then it's just it starts to be really unbelievable. There's a lot of things happening, like the doll has been used to hold this bad spirit, and she's controlling this, she's putting out false miracles, so people are all of a sudden healed, and this and that and whatever. But apparently these false miracles had happened way long ago, and the people weren't healed for long. Everyone who was healed, they met tragic ends and all of this. And so you think, okay, well, she's posing as the Virgin Mary, but she's not. She's not a nice being that's there. The people are then worshiping, right, to try to get healing for themselves and whatever. So, because it seems like true miracles. But she'll do anything to stop people who are getting in her way, yet somehow some of these people are managing to get not only in her way, but like stop her. So it doesn't make sense. She had lots of opportunities to stop these people, and somehow they're making it through. I don't know. Kind of dumb. So California Typewriter, I guess it shouldn't have been any shock to me that Tom Hanks collects typewriters.
Wow.
He's just the sort of person that might do it, yeah. So
if
you ever happen to see Tom Hanks and say, boy, would I ever like a typewriter, he will give you one, apparently.
Is that true?
Because he says he has lots of extras, and he wants to see people using typewriters, because he thinks that, like personally, I would rather see people being artful with their writing, you know, making cursive writing and stuff like that. Like he says, if you write me you come to a party and you write me an email thanking me for the party, I'll just delete that email. But if you go, you know, take the time to type out a thank you card for me, I will keep that forever. And I think, okay, well, that's fine, but rather than a typewriter, wouldn't it be better to have a handwritten thing? You know, somebody that's actually put the time into making some calligraphy or something, you know, making nice writing. And I think that really the typewriter, it was just a point in the process where we were going downhill from losing our own ability to write beautifully. And I know my grandmother on my dad's side had beautiful penmanship. Her writing was lovely. And mine really isn't that nice at all. James's is nicer than mine. And having said that, both of my parents' writing was nicer than mine or my sister's. So I think generations, we're going downhill. Our writing is worse and worse and worse, and we're relying on technology. And it was typewriter, now it's computer keyboard or
my mom,
whatever.
well, she was a teacher, so she'd teach people how to write, and much better than mine.
But anyway, that's what I think about it. You know, why not make somebody some, you know, sit out on the deck and draw a picture of a house finch or something like that, or some flowers in your yard, and thank you Tom Hanks for the party. That's way better than a typewritten. Who cares about a typewritten thing? I guess he does. That's his thing. So whatever. So I guess if you're at Tom Hanks' party, typewritten letter is preferred for some reason, right? He likes them. So yeah, it was interesting.
I'd rather have people spending time on a typewriter than on most things that people spend their time on the internet.
That's true. Yeah, and anyway, it was interesting seeing there was one guy that made artwork using old typewriter parts, and there's I can't remember what else they were showing in here. There was a typewriter shop. Honestly, I just didn't care that much. You can tell it's pretty near the bar. So, Skinamarink. Wow, is this ever bad? I thought for sure this would be on the bottom as soon as I turned it on. Like, I actually sat through a half an hour of this and finally decided, okay, this is not worth sitting through 5 minutes of this. This is 100 minutes long. I don't know if it went somewhere great after the half an hour, but it was going nowhere. It was so bad.
No,
it was
this
like
isn't
somebody.
Bram Lewis and
No,
Sheridan.
it was not.
Are they the ones that used to sing that on TV?
Yeah, they did. It says what David Lynch's Poltergeist might have looked like. No, you don't throw David Lynch's name into some work of crap like this. That is offensive. So, this is like somebody took their own, honestly, their camera on their phone, maybe, or a camera even worse than mine, and made a film inside their house. And so the lighting is really bad, and you can hardly see anything, and honestly, it's just terrible. Thrashers.
I was just going to say that's a little bit like saying, no, this is maybe something Beck would have done nowadays. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You don't go around saying stuff like that.
No.
Stupid.
No. So anyway, Thrashers. Now what was this about exactly? Oh yeah, this was so bad. This was so bad. I thought this would be on the bottom, and then I came across this, and it's like, man, it's a race for the bottom.
Well.
This one, at this point, James had been in, and I was like, gosh, I really hope that the people that are making these awful films are not getting funding from hardworking people or anyone, you know, from the government or whatever. because this is garbage. And, you know, then I was sitting there thinking, oh, well, you know, I guess people have to learn how to make a film somehow. But then I was thinking, yeah, but you don't have to put it out on video and release it to the world. Just stick it on YouTube for free or something. And nobody will watch it because it's garbage.
Yeah, I don't believe in growing up in public. I had a girlfriend way back when, I don't know how many years ago, and about 1980, so about 40 years ago. And she was in what they called drama back then, and now they call it performing arts. And she couldn't get a big role to save her life. And she was constantly crying. I can remember one drama guy was making fun of her. He was in every university-wide production. I've got to get a role. How am I going to learn if I don't get... You don't learn on stage. That's called growing up in public. It doesn't work. Canadian hockey players, well, hockey coaches, who tend to be fathers, don't understand that. Let's have these kids play 70 games. Practice? What's that? And then they wonder why the Europeans are better per capita. And I'm not kidding. They're way better per capita. The Czech Republic can beat us in, what's its population? The size of Ontario? Sweden? Or Ontario plus a little bit? These countries can beat us oftentimes. And they've got way less population per capita, way better hockey programs. So why is that? Oh, because they have their kids practice. It's the same sort of thing with drama, same sort of thing with movies. Learn how to make a movie before you release the thing on the public.
So I'm going to try to say some good things about this movie. The writing on the back, whoever came up with this description of the movie, it's artfully written. So they did a good job. And the lighting in the show was good. I didn't, the story was not told very well. There was very little story to tell, and it wasn't told well. The acting was really awful, and the man who made the movie seemed really pretentious. Just the fact that he thought that he could be a filmmaker was pretentious on his part. It's really awful. It's about somebody who she's feeling down and she wants to commit suicide, and it's kind of following her around, and she's not believable, and the story is stupid. Coffee in Winter. This bottom of the stack, it was awful. I tried watching this one while James was around too, and I couldn't understand what the purpose was. Like, James was listening to it in the background. He's like, is this something that's trying to make the public appreciate having immigrants do art for them or something like that with their public dollars? Or what is this? Like, I don't know. I don't know what their message was. It just followed some serious losers who should get real jobs and shouldn't be. They're not actors, they're not filmmakers. This is so bad. You should use this as a resume for the people involved in making this film. I mean, you went to the work of putting this into DVD format. You should send this out as a resume for real work to say, look, I can't be an artist because I tried this and I am terrible at it. So you need to make me have a real job. Maybe you can work collecting garbage or something from somebody else, because you are not an artist. This is awful.
So it seemed to be people of color who had ambitions to be artists. We've got way too many artists. How do we know? Because so-called artists have to get public funding. People don't want their art.
Yeah.
It's that simple.